retreat, and we built those boats.
Teamwork.
Brilliant.
That's great. Great connections. Thank you. What other things can we pick out of this clip? Sorry.
We say, school teachers, they taking ownership of, and,
So student ownership, they're definitely taking ownership of this. What's in her plans? Like, what does she plan for in this case? She's clearly, like, this doesn't just magically happen. What's the plan for this?
Maybe we discussed that the seating arrangement lend itself to group work, and she made sure she did clarifying questions before she let them off to work together, so to kind of cut out some potential pitfalls before the group work occurred.
Yeah, everyone knew, and this is a math example, so there is a right answer, but everyone knew what the right answer was, and then everyone knew what the expectations were, and seating chart is definitely aligns. There was one person at each table who was going to have and then how's this going to help all the students in class? I know there's some obvious students who are going to help this, but how's it going to help all the students in class?
Well, for the students who would have had their answer correct, they would have to explain, and so by their learning it again and being able to really process it by explaining it to somebody else, so it's beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, super beneficial for the high kids, and then who else is benefiting from this?
The lower kids are getting individual attention.
There's 7, I think there's 8, 9 tables in that class. That's like a 34-person class. And so at that table, at each table, there's at least one kid getting individual attention. So instead of one individual student, you had 9 students getting attention from 2 or 3 other students. So yeah. And I thought at the end it was great when Lloyd is like, "I see my air," and like points to the paper, like he was one right in front of the camera to the left. He's like, "I see my air now," and he's usually one of the top kids, and a kid who is not usually one of the top is one explaining to him. So when a kid, so like when that kid does get the question right, or does know something that someone else doesn't really feel good with themselves, so someone explain. If there's a student off camera who's explaining something the way he doesn't usually have to explain, he's doing something. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Is the rationale behind reading the answers first and then going into groups to like focus their thinking as they're talking?
Yes, because you in that exact example, Lloyd often has the answer right. In that case, he doesn't. So when they come back and they don't know the answers, he might explain something that is necessarily wrong for right or wrong. And so like, it's an opinion thing in like social studies, or like you're sharing out your thoughts on a reading. It might not be as important to be 100% correct. But in this case, like we want the right answer to be what's explained, so the right answers go out first, and then the explanation happens. Yeah. So thanks for that. So yeah, and you guys hit all the big things. And so the big takeaways here that you were talking about, why do we plan for this? And it's like the students do the majority of the thinking in the heavy labor. The students are the ones doing the thinking in that conversation, and the ones doing the thinking in the lesson plan you like. And it creates a deeper understanding of material, because Arlette just pointed out to us that that student really does understand, has to then explain it, which further sticks that into the brain. And then the thing that Ricardo said was that there's 9 students getting help as opposed to 1. So like, if you think about what involves students, lecture involves no students. If I just sit here and talk to you, you're a passive vessel of just listening. But if I'm asking just Arlette a question, she's the only one talking, the rest of you could hypothetically be looking out the window, or at least pretending to track. And then groups independent work, that's the most students that are working and mastering at one time. So like, each time you go down, you get more work out of individual students, and that's really our goal here. So this is the big thing to take away. Do you have any like thoughts, like on the front page you have space for aha moments and like planning for ratios? Is there anything that sticks out to you from this first section? Just take 30 seconds to jot that down now in the whatever box you see fit. Eureka.
Does Jackie give Julia oversight the answers, or does she choose somebody who knows the answers?
She gives us the answers. Or she'll look peek over her shoulder that you've got all the right answers. Okay, when I do that, I just read the answers. That's just something worse about having students do everything.
I feel like I do this, but flipped. I have them work together and then go over it together, and so I'm really have a little bit better to you telling them the answers first.
Yeah, it's independent for 5, and then the answers for that 30, and then talk.
yeah, we were working on the answers before we got to this video, because that's how they were able to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They all had a chance to do it independently, and then if you got it wrong, you get a chance to ask for that. Hope you have time for the aha moments.
Oh, I see, sorry, okay.
All right, and so now I realized I was gonna show you why the ratio is good to start here, why it's important for students, and I realized that, like, we are all strapped for time, so I wanted to throw out some easy ways to up this ratio that aren't going to make you plan until all hours of the night. So one of the examples that I've been working with just here is the idea of the think, write, pair, share model. So like basically, you are going to have students stop and synthesize their thoughts from a discussion, a video, or a quick lecture. So like in this case, we looked at an example paper, and then we also watched a video. You had a chance to think about it and write individually. They had a chance to talk about it in your groups, then we shared it out whole group. So it's something that takes away the just listening part and brings it up. And then everybody writes it just as a good way to prepare for a discussion. So say, Kelly, you're gonna have a discussion about something in class. You're gonna basically have everyone write down what they wanna discuss first independently so that they at least thought about it themselves. So you jump right into discussion, they might just listen to an idea, like, oh, I'm just gonna steal this person's idea because they're smart, and that's my idea now. But they had to at least think about their idea by writing ahead of time. And then lastly, if this is for more of the mathy and science kind of things, is that if you get stuck in a place where kids are not able to go through a whole process, then you do one part of it, come back, have the students explain it, and go on to the next part, and so on and so forth. So that might be a good thing for in a Spanish class where you'd be like, okay, let's first identify the verb. Everyone independently identify the verb, let's talk to your partner about it, and then like, let's conjugate it appropriately, those kind of things. So math and Spanish often look similar in these ways because we are taking vocabulary and teaching them a new thing and then how to use it in that way. So these are just some ways to up that ratio. And now we've jumped into it. So here's, I want to be as specific as possible so you know where to like focus in on your lessons for next week to add these things in. So first of all, when you have these ideas, you want to have that exemplar response in your head. So I want students to be saying this in their pair, and maybe it's an opinion, so I want them to be structuring their opinion in this way. But I wanted to hear this response. And then what we want to do is that we have a 55-minute period. In an ideal world, on our teaching rubric at the beginning of the year, the level 4 for this is over half the time is devoted to student thinking and processing. So that sounds kind of crazy, 55-minute periods. So in a perfect world, 30 are, in an ideal world, a perfect ideal, in the utopian teacher world, we're doing this 55 minutes of the period. But in our real like, did we still get information to the kids forever, our fallen world? Yes. We have to do some teaching. We can't just only have the kids do everything. So our goal as a school is that half of the time is devoted to that. So we should be really trying to use these things multiple times to reach a 30 minutes of student processing in a period. So these quick things here to think, write, prepare, share was what we did for getting new information and sharing it out loud. Everybody writes this for that preparation for discussion, and then the turn and talk is just for quick understandings. So you turn and talk, and then always want to be giving instructions for these things. If you don't give instructions, things tend to go haywire. So the 5 things to look for here. What is the movement that they're supposed to do? What is their volume? Obviously, it's going to be a buzz of some kind of conversation. How much time do they have? Like Jackie gave them a minute. What is the academic expectations? You should be addressing your misconceptions. You should be discussing why the American Revolution is particularly important. And then what is the desired product? Like for me, it was, I want you to have these boxes listed. Okay? So this is time for you to get as much done as you possibly can. We're going to call this, let's see, it's really 2:45. You have 33 minutes right now until 2:30 to actually start planning these things in. Then we're going to take the last 50 minutes to practice giving the instructions for these things in small groups. So you have this time to plan, add these things in, ask questions around you. I think most people are pretty much sitting grouped how you kind of group yourselves anyway. But if you want to ask questions about specific content things, I'm here. Kate is here for Spanish, and then I can try my hardest at everything else. But work time, get things done, we'll come back at 2:30.